Hi, everybody. Hi,
Hi,
Shirley.
everybody. Hi, Kel.
Yay, we did it.
We did it. Yes,
Oh
we
my
did.
gosh. Welcome, everybody, to Psychology and the Soul. We're
Yeah.
really excited to have
Welcome.
everybody here tonight. And we thought tonight we're going to tell you a little bit about what we're going to be talking about and why
Yes.
we decided to do this show, because I think it's really important. But first, I'd love to introduce you to one of my dearest, closest friends, Dr. Shirley Impellizzeri. Hey,
Hi,
Cheryl.
everybody. So happy to be here with my bestie, Kel, who I love to death.
It's true.
Um, I am, let's see, what can I say about myself? I'm a psychologist, trained from UCLA. So I have that research-based left brain. And then one day I met Kelly. Everything
It's true.
changed
It's
there.
true.
Yes.
It's a shock to our system.
Exactly. Complete. It opened up my right brain like nothing had ever opened, because my dad, as many of you might know, was an engineer. So he just took that right brain out of and it was all left brain logical thinking. And
Which makes a really good balance, actually, for us, Shirley.
it really does. Yeah, it really does. And because I haven't lost that. And one day, again, fatefully, I walked into Kelly's mom's office just completely out of the blue. And as some of you
So
might
25 years ago, I think.
yeah, 1997. I will never forget it. Yeah. And as a psychologist, therapist, you need to do 3,000 hours registered under somebody else's license before you can take the exams to get your own license as part of your training. And I needed about 1,500. And something just told me drive to Beverly Hills. And I looked at a building, great building. I walked in a door and her mother was there. And she happened to be in between patients. And I said, I'm looking for, a psych assistantship is what we called it. I need 1,500 hours. And she said, oh, honey, I'm not taking on any new psych assistants. And I swear to you, something hit me in the back of the head. And all of a sudden the words pop out, but I'm trained in hypnosis. Not knowing why I said that. And she paused and she went, oh, honey, I need a good hypnotist, but I don't know you. And that's how she and I met. And she took me on, and I owe everything to her. And then I meet you. Yeah.
Shirley and I got to be friends. And then later, as most of you know, I'm a psychic medium. And then I decided to go back to graduate school. And then I needed my 3,000 hours, of which I did a lot, like you, Shirley, at 1,500 somewhere else, doing clinical work. And then I got just so lucky, because then I became your intern.
Yes. And I was able to give back what your mom had given me. And that's how we just became. And I have to tell you guys, the things that would happen in the office would blow anybody's mind away.
It was really a extraordinary time. But Shirley, what was amazing to me is that you accepted what I did. You were broadly thinking about it. You didn't have any hesitation, where a lot of psychologists would have said, I don't think I'm going to go down this arena. You were always really open to it.
It's funny that you say that, because yes, clinical psychology has sometimes been cautious of spirituality because I don't think they fully understand it. But if we look at ourselves, we are mind, body, and spirit.
Yes.
That is what makes us up. That is the part of us. As a kid, I just didn't ever believe that once you die, that's it. Because what makes me, me, and you, that special thing that makes us so, individual and special. I couldn't believe that would just disappear once we die, once the heart stops. I thought we would be more robotic, my left brain, we would be more robotic if that was it. So I always kind of knew there was something else there. I didn't know what to call it then. I didn't call it a soul. And then when you came into my life, that really was just, it all made sense to me.
It all came together.
Yeah.
It's very true. But you were one of the first ones that allowed this drawer to open, to merge psychology and spirituality, which is always a direction that I was always headed in. I didn't feel that I needed, with the mediumship, I needed more tools. I love tools. I love lenses. I love looking at things through different lenses. Yeah. And I always felt that the psychology would bring me a lot of great way to view situations, as also the spirituality lens does too. And I love the combination of it. But again, I really have to thank you for giving me that opportunity to
Oh,
do.
my pleasure. You've truly opened me up as well. And so I think it was, as you've taught me, I think it was a soul contract that we made on the other side.
Oh, 100% it was. 100% it was. And we could go on and talk about soul contracts, because that is the truth. It really was. Just like the contract I had with James. The same thing. I mean, James is, thank you, James, if you're watching this. I mean, you know, James is also my other bestie. I mean, I'm really lucky. I have two great besties in my life, and I'm really, really fortunate here. And James opened up a whole world for me with mediumship too, you know? So, and I think the two of them together are just an extraordinary combination, especially as we get into, and some of the topics we're going to be talking about, without getting political at all, but looking at what's happening in this quite dysfunctional time that we're living. But spiritually, our souls chose this particular dysfunction time so we could stretch. This is going to give so many opportunities. And what Shirley and I want to aim for is to give tools and explain and help and validate and help ground you during these emotional upheavals.
Right. Because what happens is, you know, we are a brain and a nervous system. And when that gets dysregulated, I mean, if we look at it, and we'll be talking about doing shows on emotion and stuff, what are emotions but a dysregulated nervous system? Where when we're angry or excited, it dysregulates up. When we're depressed and sad, it dysregulates down. So one thing that's such a valuable to teach ourselves and teach the people around us, especially our kids, is how to regulate our nervous system when we feel dysregulated. And that will get us through difficult times. You know, it doesn't mean we don't feel, but it'll get us through difficult times, you know, regulating our nervous system so we're not high highs and low lows.
Right. And I think that is going to be so important, again, for these times. And we chose an interesting day to begin this show. We chose, you know, it's Chinese New Year, the year of the fire horse.
We have our cups.
We have our matching cups. Exactly. I had to get those for us.
I know.
I just had to. So we had the solar eclipse this morning early. It was like from, I don't know, like 2 or 3 in the morning until about 7 or 8 or 9 this morning. So we had the solar eclipse. It's also, and I have to point this out, I mean, talk about a powerful day to begin something, Shirley. It's also Ramadan. It's the beginning of the Islamic holy month. It's also Fat Tuesday, which is the end of the Carnival, which begins Lent. It's also in numerology an 11 day, which means the teacher. February 17th to 2026 is the teacher. It's the 11. And I have to say, you know, today, I was sad to hear that Jesse Jackson passed away.
Yeah.
And it was today of all days. I said this about my mom, and I'll say this about Jesse Jackson. It would take an eclipse to take them out. My mother was born on an eclipse and passed on an eclipse. It's the damnedest thing ever.
Wow.
I mean, here we go. You know, these are really powerful energies that we have.
Yeah. So we wanted to kind of create this, you know, this podcast to have to combine everything between mental health, conscious awareness, and spiritual insight, because they're all so important.
Yes.
You know, yeah. So this is not a show about therapy, about bypassing, about preaching. It really is integration. The goal of this show is to integrate. To, you know, we can view it from like a science-informed spirituality and a spiritually aware psychology.
Oh, I like that, Shirley, because I love the conscious awareness here.
Yes.
To me, it's all about waking up, you know, the awareness, having, questioning certain things and moving people forward.
It also, it's such an important piece, and also it helps you understand, like in 2008 was the first time that I was introduced to attachment theory, to how the nervous system works. And I'll never forget it. All of a sudden, I started to make sense. I didn't feel like there was something wrong with me, like something happened. I started to make sense. I understood why I reacted the way I did, why I thought the way I thought. That doesn't mean there's not things that I wanted to change, but I started to make sense. And we can view ourselves also, we do, from a spiritual standpoint. So when you explained from a spiritual standpoint what some of our psychological issues are, like even depression, anxiety, again, it's about wow, I make sense. I make sense
right.
to myself. There's
And
a
I
lot
always think
more.
that's so important because that having that awareness, that aha moment.
Yeah,
Oh, that's why I operate in this system. Oh, that's what
exactly.
I'm here to learn. Okay, got it. Then you can move forward from that.
Exactly. And we can shift from judgment and criticism to curiosity. One of my teachers taught me this that I've never forgotten. I say it over and over again. Dr. Larry Heller, he taught when we come at things, even things we don't like, come at things with curiosity, it's the antidote to judgment and criticism.
So that's a tip that everybody can take away from today, Shirley. Do you want to repeat that?
Yeah. Yeah. When we come at things with curiosity, we can get rid of the judgment and the criticism because curiosity is the antidote to criticism and to judgment.
It's so true. So that would be like, for instance, why am I this way? Instead of like, I'm curious, why do I respond
Exactly.
that way?
Exactly. Why I just got upset at something that a friend said or a partner said. Instead of reacting or what's wrong with me, it's, I'm curious. What just triggered in me of what that person said? Or why did I just feel that? Or we wake up feeling a little down. I wonder why I'm feeling a little down today.
It takes the pressure off.
It really does. And the self-criticism just adds more energy to something that doesn't need more energy.
Please. I mean, I'm always, whenever I work with somebody, I'm always curious when they go into that space of self-criticism. Okay, tell me about your mother. Usually it's like, tell me about your mother. Oh, really?
Yeah.
How long do you want to do that? I'm just curious. Right. I'm curious.
If we look at it even from the most basic point, a baby isn't born criticizing itself. A baby isn't born going, oh my God, you're crying again. What's wrong with you? The criticism gets interjected in. Unfortunately, if a parent is too critical, or if a child is made to feel like everything they do is wrong or the things that they do is wrong. When a parent, of course, I was taught this way too. Unfortunately, a child is having an emotion. Go to your room. Have a timeout. Instead of being with the child, holding the space for that big emotion that they don't even know what to do with. The toddler throws himself on the ground because you said no cookies before dinner. That they're just showing an emotion. It's up to the parent to hold the space, to let them have that emotion, to, of course, we teach them, no hitting, but to be able to hold the space for that emotion.
Oh, I love that, Shirley. And right now, it's really more than ever, we are literally living in a time of emotional intensity.
Yes.
And so the world will feel heavy. The future may feel unclear. Internally, people are feeling overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. So this is not the time to retreat, if you will, into a denial. And it's not the time necessarily for extremes, but it's really a time to come together to start to figure out who you are in this ever-changing structure that's constantly changing here.
Yeah. What I'm seeing is that there's a gap, or there's a separation between mental health, the language of mental health, and the language of spirituality.
Yes.
And they're both so important, and they both really matter. And that's why we created this show, to kind of start to lessen the gap, to bring them together, because we are a combination of both.
Well, and so, Shirley, when I lived in Los Angeles, so I lived in Los Angeles, for people that may not know this, my whole life until 2019, until I moved to a farm in Wisconsin in the middle of nowhere. And it's a truth.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful. In the middle of nowhere. But when I moved here, things were very, very different in the world, as they are now, really, really different. And you always had, I always knew that we had to use other ways to explore things, that the psychology wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. It's a lot, but it wasn't everything. And I felt like there needed to be a larger lens to use. And so when you view things from, like when you and I would be when I was living in LA, when we would work with clients together, some of your patients, you'd bring me in, right? Yeah. And we would so you would be talking to them about a certain thing, and then I could go in from another lens or another angle and work with them.
Yeah. To give, even if we view it as a different perspective,
Different
there's
perspective.
a psychological perspective and there's a spiritual perspective. And if it helps calming, if it helps to make sense, if it helps, then who cares? I mean, that's how I view it. It's looking at different things, looking at your life or different aspects of your life from two different perspectives.
And sometimes the spiritual approach lessens the intensity of something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you chose that mother. What? I didn't choose that mother. Right. Well, yeah, you did, actually. Right. And then to flip the switch, or to flip the script, I should say, on, why do you think you chose her? What have you learned?
Right. Exactly. Because that's kind of the difference as I've always seen it, as much as I believe that we are, there's that soul part of us. We can't just live in that soul part.
No, you have to have both.
Well, because we're humans. We chose, as you say, to be humans in this lifetime. So while we do have a soul, we're having, as James says, we're souls having a human experience. So you can't ignore the very real human part of us, which may have experienced trauma, which has a nervous system and a brain. And
yes, you cannot bypass that by saying, "Oh, I'm spiritual." There's no bypass.
And I never feel anger, because anger is such an important emotion to feel.
That's my favorite.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we can't, we could, I suppose, just be human and just have a human, but boy, we're missing out on so much, the beautiful spiritual side.
Yeah. You would be. So to be able to combine both, especially again, as the world churns, I think that this show will teach people, that's our whole thing, Shirley, is to teach people what's going on with themselves and how to help move them on. And to honor themselves. I think it's going to be really important. And Shirley, would you say that each show is going to focus on one central theme?
Yeah. So the way we're kind of creating it is that each episode will focus on a central theme. We'll begin by defining the topic clinically.
So explain what clinically is.
Well, from a psychological standpoint. Like, we're all psychological beings. So we make sense of things. We try to make sense of things. We have reactions based on past experiences, and so we'll understand it from that standpoint. And then we'll see it from a spiritual lens.
Exactly. So let's say we were clinically, let's say we were talking about depression.
Yeah.
And so Shirley might start speaking about it from, what depression is.
Yeah, defining what it is, what it feels like, because I very, very much work between mind and body. We can't just think something away. Everything, all our trauma lands in the body. When we're depressed, we don't just know that we're depressed. How do we know? Possibly because it feels heavy, because we feel heavy, we feel weighted down. That's the sensation of depression.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I would look at it through the spiritual lens of, I would be looking at the vital life force. What happened? Where is it in the body? Did you lose your power? Is it in your third chakra? Did you lose your power?
Right, because many times depression can be anger turns inward.
Absolutely.
Well, because we're not in touch with all of our emotions, particularly anger, which is turned into a 4-letter word in our society, and I don't know why. We're going to normalize anger. That could cause the depression. And so we will work on it from a clinical standpoint, which all that falls under the clinical umbrella, but also the spiritual side, the meaning of it, in a way, we can say.
Absolutely. And the greater reason why all this is happening right now.
Right.
That ability to kind of tune into that. And
right.
It's not going to be, it's going to be very grounded. And I think that you will leave each episode with some insight and something tangible to reflect on or to practice.
Definitely want to do that. That is a goal of giving people something tangible to have, to walk away with, not just, we're talking about things and making sense of things as much as possible, but also something tangible.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Some tools you can take with you. Some of our topics will include trauma and nervous system healing, attachment wounds and relationships.
And let me just say this, Shirley, explain what you do with somatic experience, because Shirley has had more experience with trauma, teaching trauma, understanding it, working with trauma specialists. I mean, you really are a trauma specialist.
Yeah. Well, again, another fateful day that I wasn't planning on.
Yes, you did. See, that's not true. You planned it on the other side.
Right. That I wasn't conscious of planning.
Exactly. You forgot.
Okay. Thank you for correcting
You're
me.
welcome.
Well, it actually, it all started in 2008. I needed to get we need to get 36 hours of continuing education to keep our license, valid.
Well, we always have to go back to school no matter what.
Yes.
It's 36 units every 2 years, I think.
36 hours. Yeah. Every 2 years.
Yeah.
And so one year I got this beautiful brochure, trip to Tahiti, get 25 of your 36 hours. I went, what? And then the way they scheduled it is you would learn from 9 to 12 and then have the rest of the day free. So you could take it. So I said, oh, you mean a vacation? That's a tax write-off that I get most of my hours to Tahiti? Okay. I don't care who's teaching it. I don't care what they're teaching. I really don't give a shit. A vacation with my daughter. So I brought my daughter along and I was sitting there, in the first lecture and thinking, we're going to go jet skiing afterwards or and all of a sudden he started talking about attachment and how we attach by the time we're 18 months and how that attachment with our caregiver kind of sets the tone, the foundation. It plants 3 seeds, the seeds of self-esteem. Am I lovable? Am I deserving? Am I worthy? The seeds of, can I trust others to be there for me? And is the world a safe place or an unsafe place? And that sets the stage. And all of a sudden he started to describe one type of attachment. And I said, oh my God, he's describing me. And when I came back from there, I took everything I could on attachment and that's how I discovered somatic healing, which somatic, I can be quite dense. Somatic, it just means body. It's just another word for body. And I learned about somatic experiencing, which was a type of therapy created by Dr. Peter Levine. And it teaches how everything is stored in the nervous system. Our traumas, our that fight or flight response that happens when something comes at us and we don't have time to fight back or we can't because we're a little kid. That energy gets stuck and starts to wreak havoc. And once I learned that, it was incredible.
It's so helpful. I mean, now, I was in grad school, Shirley, people were really not talking about trauma the way they are now.
Yeah.
So trauma is a huge topic that we will be covering through the lens of somatic therapy. And we'll be talking the difference between EMDR and some of the other ones. And,
right.
We'll get everybody real clear on certain things that they need, to know about.
Yeah. We'll talk about, and we'll have our wonderful friend, Kellee Gonya, talking about generational trauma, which is a huge one. I mean, Shirley and Carrie and I have worked together for many, many years with Roots of Healing, talking about that. And we'll definitely have classes with Shirley or with Carrie, and we'll have her on for sure. Yeah. And how to heal with that. I mean, the research shows that generations pass through the genes, the trauma from each generation, even if you don't have to have lived it. They
actually say 13 generations behind, Shirley, and 13 going forward.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And I will say we will be talking about everybody's favorite topic, personality disorders. We will be talking about narcissists and borderlines and sociopaths and psychopaths. We will cover them all. Shirley and I have taught classes on these.
Yeah, because they are a tough bunch.
They're a tough bunch. And yet it seems, Shirley, everybody in the world is affected by them.
Well, they are, because first of all, if you're not one, you have no clue, because it lacks, you have no awareness that you have an issue. It's not like depression or anxiety where it doesn't feel good and you really want to do something about it. You have no clue. So everyone around you has a difficult time. And so in that, we will also teach boundaries.
Boundaries is going to be a big topic for us.
Yes. That if you are dealing with someone who has narcissistic traits or borderline, and we'll get into that if you don't know what that means, but they have high rage, how to set boundaries and how to feel okay setting boundaries, like you're not doing something wrong.
And I'll be talking about it from a spiritual lens, which is, how did this happen? Why did this happen? How is this? I mean, they are our greatest teachers, everybody. Our greatest teachers. I have had some of the best around.
I have too.
You have too. I don't know anybody that hasn't, but
right. And if you haven't,
about that,
if you haven't, consider yourself very lucky.
Yeah, very lucky, especially on Earth right now, because again, there's so many situations happening that will be able to, you'll be able to grow and stretch and learn and exercise your free will on earth, which is why we do come here to have free will.
Exactly. We'll be talking about shadow work.
Oh, let's explain a little bit what shadow work is.
Healing.
Tell a little bit what the shadow is.
Yeah.
Just to give a little hint.
Carl Jung came up with that, and he was just brilliant, so ahead of his time.
And he used astrology, everybody. He did.
As I said, so ahead of his time, right?
So ahead of his time.
Shadow work is that part of us that we keep hidden because it's not accepted. And the most difficult part is when it's hidden even from ourselves.
And the shadow really is hidden from ourselves.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not, but there's too much shame, to try and work with it. And that's when you work with a therapist that can help integrate it so it doesn't have to bring up shame and you don't have to keep it separate. Sometimes we don't even know it exists, but it's the part of us that, I don't know, that has us do different things that isn't really who we are, and react certain ways. And that also, of course, comes from trauma. So as you heal trauma from the body, that starts to also lift, and inner child integration, so many things, because our trauma, when we talk about trauma, we don't just mean big deal traumas. We mean not feeling safe as a kid because your parents yelled a lot. That's trauma.
Or drugs and alcohol. There were parents that were drugs or alcoholics.
Yeah, that weren't present. That maybe never hit you, but weren't present. All that. When a childhood didn't feel safe, that we can kind of qualify under the umbrella of trauma, and then all the different ways of things that, that you experience. But giving a voice to that inner child, to that little kid in us that really lives in us. It's not, it's beyond a cycle. It was a brilliant psychological kind of a way of putting it. That is so, so important and so life-changing.
And we will we'll definitely talk about menopause at some point as well. I think that's probably a good topic there, Renee. We will definitely be talking about that because it does change a lot of our systems.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And people who actually go through it slowly, or like me, had a hysterectomy and hit it like a brick wall and had no idea what was happening. So, yes.
So we could really talk about that. That's a great topic, actually. Yeah. And in matter of fact, everybody, we're going to have, I know some people have left a lot of the topics that they want us to cover, and we're going to, but I know Michelle, who does all of our social media, our person, is going to be putting out some sort of a social media post asking for questions. And once a month, Shirley and I are going to directly answer your questions. Like once a month, we'll be doing that.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to be on every Tuesday at 5:00 Pacific time going forward.
Yes.
But once a month, I can't remember what Tuesday she's going to do. The third Tuesday of the month, I think she said.
I don't remember, but that'll be fun because we'll just answer questions.
Yeah, we're just going to answer questions. And believe me, there'll be lots to cover here because we do know that. But we will be talking about shadow work and, neuroscience and mysticism. That ought to be interesting.
Yes. And also, the difference between intuition versus hypervigilance. How do you know? And the difference between intuition and wish fulfillment. How can
it's very true. Well, I had the most lovely call today with my daughter, Holiday, who's also a psychologist, runs in my family. And she said to me, Mom, I just want to thank you for always telling me to use my intuition and to trust myself. And I guess I did all those years. Sometimes you do so much as a parent, you don't know what you've done and what you haven't done.
Yeah.
And but she said that to me. She said, you always told me to trust my intuition. And that's a tip that I would give everybody today. Start trusting your intuition.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Look, and you can feel it in your gut. The gut's your third chakra. Mm-hmm. It's your power chakra.
Yeah.
It's really important to start trusting your intuition.
Yeah. It's so interesting because it shows up in so many ways. It doesn't have to be this big thing. Sometimes I'll be walking out the door and I'll just have a quick thought in my mind. I don't know, I should bring water. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go to a restaurant, so I'll have water there. I literally talk to myself about how I'm not going to follow my intuition. My brain is talking, my mind is talking to my gut. And I get there. And of course, my friend texts me and says she's going to be an hour late or whatever it may be. And water would have been nice to have with me. Even little things like
but
that.
It is the little things.
Yeah.
It is. It's the little things that, get you strong. So when the big things come, it's really about trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, which means into the soul.
Right.
I love the Sherry Abdul said a popularized paraphrase from Carl Jung was psychology will be a dinosaur science until it includes astrology.
Oh,
I never
beautiful.
heard of that, Sherry, and I appreciate that one.
That is beautiful.
That is a good one.
Yeah.
For that,
Yeah.
we definitely, and also, Shirley, spiritually, we'll look at different types of healing, like maybe sound healing, breath work, somatic movement, and I'm a big person on Qigong, and I love Qigong, which is energy movement, because that slows us down enough to get us back into our body. Shirley, when I was growing up, I was really, really anxious, and I was anxious. I came out of the womb anxious, because of course I planned, a family that would create anxiety, and it worked. And I was so anxious. I was anxious all the time, and had I even known to slow down, to take a breath, we didn't talk about that in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Really, it wasn't about that. But now there's so many ways to slow it down. Just get in the body.
Right. Right. And that is so important, because I've heard over and over again, when I'm working with someone and they're accelerated and they're anxious and they're telling me something, I start to slow them down. And I hear from almost everyone, wow, I go, and what do you notice as we slow things down? An expansion. There's more room. We don't realize that when we're anxious and, we're looking at life like this, and when we slow things down, all of a sudden the window opens up and we can see.
It's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Tell me how you would begin the process of slowing a patient that comes to see you, and they're up. Tell me how that works.
Yeah, I would simply say, while you're sharing that with me, notice what you're feeling inside. Notice your chest, your tummy, your arms, your legs, and my voice slows down too. So that also can help. But once
somebody.
Right. Because when we're talking, we're really coming from here, unless we're talking in a slow down and kind of integrating and taking it in. But when someone is very excited or anxious, they're really coming just from the brain. And so when we slow things down, we bring it down. Notice your feet. What do you notice in your chest as you're sharing that story with me? And in order to notice, you have to stop talking and you have to tune in. And so that in and of itself slows it down. Yeah.
That's so true. Can you explain a little bit about the amygdala? I don't mean to jump from here to here, but I was just thinking when you say like this, people come from great fear.
Yeah.
The fear is stored.
Well, the amygdala is what we call the threat detector of the brain. So it kind of scans the environment, and I can't remember the exact numbers now, but like just, it is so quickly, like in a seconds. I mean,
like a nanosecond?
A nanosecond kind of thing scans the environment. And we'll either put we'll put the nervous system into fight or flight or into rest and digest mode. And so if we come from a childhood that felt unsafe, that amygdala is on,
it's always on.
Hyperactive. It's always on. It's on high alert. Yes, thank you. It's on high alert. And so there's different techniques that we can use to help. And we'll teach these to you to help calm the amygdala so the whole body calms. What happens also is that when we're in high energy, especially anger, what happens is the thinking part of the brain, which is the frontal cortex, disconnects literally like a computer. And we're just coming from the limbic system, the emotional part of the brain. And that's where the expression, I didn't mean what I said, came from, because we're not thinking. We can't. In that moment, literally, if we're looking at the model of a brain here, which Dr. Dan Siegel teaches, this is the front. Literally, it disconnects, and we're just coming from the amygdala and the emotions. And it's not an excuse for people who then react. It's something that we need to know about us. And when we start to notice getting so upset, dysregulated, to be able to take a pause and say, I can't talk about this now. I'll be back. So we don't get there because once you're there, you cannot control it.
Yeah,
this is true. The thinking brain has
Is that why it's important when that happens, if there was somebody there to, like, not to hold you down, because sometimes you don't want that, but like as a grounding, somebody to help ground you back, almost like a hug, like a deep hug, or
it's whatever works. For some people it's touch. For some people it's, I'll never forget, I was having a really hard time once, and what can get people more upset is, have you tried this, or have you done that, or have you done that, or and that. And a friend of mine once said, what can I do to help? And that calmed me right down.
That's a great tip right there, Shirley.
Yeah.
What can I do to help?
Yeah. We go into kind of fix it mode, and we come up with a whole bunch of different, possibilities, and we want to help. It's not out of malice. But many times when someone is already dysregulated, that they don't need that.
I love that. What can I do to help?
Yeah. I'll never forget, and this happened years ago. I felt my nervous system just go, oh. Right. And then I felt so seen. That's another thing we'll talk about. It's at the core of attachment, is to feel seen by someone else. Kids need to feel seen. Adults need to feel seen by their partner, and one of my teachers used to call it, feeling felt by the other person. We feel so safe when we feel seen by the other person, even if we're having a shitty reaction to something, to feel seen. What's happening right now? What just happened? Which is not an easy thing to do when you're in an argument, right? Yeah.
And we will be talking about attachment theory and different forms of attachment, which will really be helpful for people, because you'll recognize yourself when we go through the attachment. It's very important. And we will be talking about the frontal lobes and how they affect social interaction and emotional development. So we will definitely be holding that. And Laura says, is tunnel vision a reaction to our survival instincts, or is that a nervous reaction? Probably both.
Well, it's both. Nervous. What is nervousness? Is anxiety. What's anxiety? Fear. And what's fear? Fear of death.
Always.
And so ultimately. So if we break it down, we get it. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, we'll be breaking down lots of things.
Yeah.
Great. And I think this is, and Shirley, I just want to mention too, this is a show not about fixing you.
No.
It's not about diagnosing everybody that's listening. We're just going to be talking about a lot of, tools and psychology and spirituality that will help bring awareness.
Exactly.
Without any shame, without extreme, without hysteria, none of that.
Yeah, because I can't do anything unless I'm aware of it. So if I'm not aware of something, then what am I going to do? I can't, and also understanding when someone doesn't have the capacity for awareness.
Oh, that's
right. Yes. So then what do I do?
Big topic right there.
Right. When I realize that someone doesn't have the capacity, and that's not a judgment, that's just,
nope. It really is not.
Then it's on me. Then what do I do? And that's maybe where boundaries come in. That's where, acceptance comes in.
Acceptance is a big one.
Yeah.
When you get to that realization that somebody, and again, nobody has to be limited. I'm not going out there saying, no, this one's limited or that one's limited. I say that a lot, but everybody has the capacity to move forward. But too often there's an unconscious thing that happens that they stay limited. And when you get to a point where you get tired of banging on that door for awareness, please have some awareness, then you understand it. You don't have to keep putting your energy into that.
Right. And what can help with awareness in a more kind of, what's the word? Kind of kind way is that curiosity. Like even when I have a reaction that I don't like, why did I do, I'm curious. Why did I react that way? What just happened? That can bring awareness into ourselves without it having to be critical or judgmental or.
Right. So we don't have to go down that route.
Right.
But
right.
I love the way that you take the critical piece away. You don't have to be critical on any of this or judgmental.
It just adds to
life
it.
In general.
Yeah, exactly. It just adds to it.
And spiritually, I will say this, Shirley, that everybody's in a different place. We're all headed ultimately to the same goal, which is love, compassion, kindness, those kind of things, which is why we incarnate. But everybody's going to be in a different path depending on what kind of lessons they're here to learn and how much they want to learn, how much they can learn. And so that's why you can't have any judgment on any of this.
Yeah, none of it. Absolutely. But that's why kind of the integration, of psychology and spirituality, because something so powerful happens. It's from a human standpoint, the nervous system calms, the mind gains clarity, and
the soul comes alive.
Right.
And that's the best part. That's my favorite part.
That exactly. Because meaning becomes integrated rather than, right? Because we're so a combination of both. We can understand things from different levels, different places. Yeah. And all of a sudden makes sense of our world.
And it takes the blame away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you're going out there and blaming this, some people, and I know many people that do this, that still are blaming their parents or this and that. And listen, I understand all of that, but after a while, have the acceptance of whatever their traumas were, and then you get to be the one that moves forward with either an acceptance, a forgiveness, and we will be talking about forgiveness from all lenses, from the psychological lens, because it's really powerful, and from the spiritual lens. So we'll be talking about forgiveness. I think that's a big one, Cheryl.
But that's an important piece, and I'm so glad that you're bringing that up, because yes, at some point we need to stop blaming and accepting. However, we can't bypass that either.
Yeah, exactly. No, you cannot bypass that.
We are who we are because things happened. Misattunements happened. What we needed wasn't fulfilled happened. And again, not to blame, but to understand. And to be able to get in touch with our own disappointment and our own anger of what we didn't get or what we got that we didn't want. Because that anger, when a child isn't getting their needs met, they go into anger. It's like when a baby starts crying and fussing, and then it starts crying and fussing louder, and then it cries and cries louder and louder and louder because it's not getting their needs. That's anger. That is the equivalent of anger. And that gets suppressed many times. If a child gets in trouble for being angry or doesn't get their needs met, I can't be angry because then it might be more dangerous. That needs to be that anger that needs to be respected and worked through so we can get to that place of acceptance, of understanding and acceptance, and not get stuck in blame.
And not get stuck in this. And once you get that aha moment, you start to heal from that. And then there's that spiritual place that does move you forward.
Absolutely.
That's the forgiveness piece that I'm talking about. It does that. And, Shirley, one of the things that I definitely want to have as a topic is people pleasing. Because that's really, frankly, a shadow thing, I think.
Well, it's a survival skill, and that's I think a really important topic is what skills do we come up with as kids to survive our childhood? And survive might be, a very dramatic word, and sometimes it's not. And it's not necessarily physical survival, it's emotional survival. And people pleasing is a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. Yeah.
To get along. And so you suppress your needs, your authentic self goes out the door, and you become what you think your caregiver needs in order to
survive, to stay alive. Yeah. And it's a big one. It's a big one. I think that is. Now, Shirley, I just want to mention this too to everybody who's listening, that Shirley and I are going to be available for lecturing and events and symposiums and podcasts and, guest speakers and whatever it is. So just always kind of put that in the back. We are available to do that. We are going to be teaching classes together. But,
we're going to take the show on the road.
We're going to take the show on the road. So, if there's anybody who are, companies or I don't know, anything that's out there that needs lecturing like this or events like this, we are available. So I did want to mention that, Shirley.
Yeah.
And so next week, Shirley, we start our episode 1, we're calling it.
Yes.
And it's going to be trauma and the nervous system. Did you realize that, Cheryl? Next week is trauma and the nervous system and what actually happens inside of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about how trauma, what it is, how psychology and spirituality can help work together to support that.
Yeah. Again, as a way to understand a lot of our behaviors, our reactions, the way we think, what we're afraid of, and also that understanding is so important, but also giving tools, sharing tools on how to help you regulate your nervous system when you have a big emotion.
Could you do a little grounding technique for everybody now?
Sure. When we regulate our nervous system, the huge difference is that we stop reacting and we can choose a response. When we slow things down and we stop reacting, all of a sudden we get a choice. Do I want to act like this? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And that is such an important piece.
Oh my gosh, it sure is.
Yeah. So one quick way to do it is when we're having, big emotions, and it could be something that's happening, in front of us in the moment, right? Not necessarily a trigger from the past. We're here. We're really just here. We're thinking about it. We're obsessing about it. I'm so angry that. So one quick way to just kind of help calm things down even a little bit is to connect with your body. Because your body will know seconds before your mind is aware of what might happen. And so the first time I learned this, she would say, notice your feet. So if I invite all of you watching to just notice your feet on the ground. And all of a sudden you feel that connection. So because my own childhood, I was a brain that was not connected to my body. And so what I did to start to really practice this is I got a Post-it and just put feet on it. And I would put it on my computer. So every time I looked at it, it reminded me to notice my feet.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We can take it a step further. We can notice the back of our bottom on the chair. If we're sitting in a chair, our back against the chair rest. Notice how the chair holds us in that seated position. And as we notice these things, we really get connected with our body. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. And so once you maintain a connection like that, you'll notice when you get triggered even before your mind is aware of it. And that gives us the space to say, okay, wait a minute, something just happened. I noticed, like a volcano in my tummy or whatever it may be. And we have that moment to not react, to choose a response.
Exactly. And that's really, really important to do, be able to do that. And there is a difference between a reaction and a response.
Absolutely. A response might be, I'm not going to respond to this. Mm-hmm. That could be a response.
And the response may be calm and measured.
Absolutely.
You don't have to react.
Right. Yeah.
These are things that I've had to learn over time. This isn't like I knew it when I was younger. I had.
Well, I know. Well, we're not taught this, which is why I think this is so important. Everything that I learned from that fateful Tahiti trip in 2008 that I continued studying for years and years and years, actually until COVID was the last, I would go to 3-day conferences. One time, we might talk about this too. I went on a 3-day conference of the neurobiology of play. How important play is as an adult. It's going to look different than our play as kids, but how important that is.
That's got to be a topic, Shirley.
Yeah. As adults, we stop playing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not me, but yeah.
Right, exactly.
Taking my grandkids to Disneyland, and I cannot friggin' wait.
Exactly. But so there's so many things, but the key is once you have that understanding, again, you don't have to have judgment. And I think that is really an important piece.
It's a huge piece. It's a huge piece not to have the judgment. And so these are the kind of things that we will be working on. And yes, Elizabeth Scott, who's a wonderful psychotherapist and does past life regression in New York. She's fabulous, Elizabeth Scott. notice the breath. Shirley, you want to talk a little bit about noticing the breath?
Well, the breath is, it's what started us in this world, that first breath that we took. So the breath is really, really important to notice if we're breathing very, shallow, if we're not breathing light. But what I have found that comes with the breath, what automatically helps the breath is tuning into the body. That slows the breath down on its own. But breathing also, when you breathe in, it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the active part of our nervous system. When you breathe out, it stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest nervous system. So a way to regulate also is breathing in, let's say 4 counts, holding the breath 4 counts, and breathing out to 8 counts. Because then you're stimulating your resting nervous system for a longer time than you're stimulating the active one. And you're already active if we're feeling big emotions. So that's always, we call it, what is it? Like the 4-6-8 rule.
Mm-hmm. Well, the box breathing also.
The box, right.
Box 4, 4, 4, 4.
Yeah. Well, you have to breathe out for longer.
Okay.
To stimulate the more relaxing part of the nervous system.
These are the things that Shirley knows. She knows a lot of it. I have never known anybody that takes more classes and studies more than Shirley.
I have learned from great people. As a matter of fact, I am going to San Diego because now we're doing them in person again. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
This weekend?
Dr. Peter Levine is teaching about somatic, and I've heard many of it before, but every time I hear it, it's a whole new thing. And Dr. Ruth Lanius.
Oh my gosh. And Shirley has worked with Peter personally.
Yeah. He's a wonderful human being.
Yeah, he was on the show with James and me. He was on our show.
Yes. And we'll see if we're going to get him on this show.
Get him on our show again. That would be great. Absolutely. We have some wonderful guests that are going to be on too.
Yeah.
That will bring their specialty to everything. Yeah. Which is really going to be really terrific. Yeah. About everything. And we will be talking about meditation, the connection with the mind and the body. We will be talking about it because I'm huge on that. And also, we will be talking about empaths. And in fact, I am teaching a class, if you're interested, everybody, on March 14th. It's a 2-hour class on being an empath and all the tools and everything I have to go into being a conscious empath is what I call it. So if you want to join me, that's on March 14th.
It's going to be a wonderful class.
Yeah, it's a really good class on empaths. Because so many people are empaths out there, Cheryl.
Oh, yeah.
Again, when I was growing up, we didn't have this kind of information like we do now.
No, and it's a shame because it's so important. So many people feel drained and not even understand why.
Absolutely. And we will talk about migraines. Speaking of correlating migraines with directing better health. Yeah, absolutely. I've always been under the impression, and Shirley, you can help me with this if I'm incorrect, but that migraines are anger. Often
can be. Yeah. They have tied, some research shows migraines are tied to a traumatic, to trauma, to unhealed trauma.
There we go.
Yeah. And anger certainly would be, would go right in there.
It would go right in there.
Yeah.
But so Shirley and I are going to be on every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. And we really appreciate everybody watching the show tonight, and any of the comments that you think of that you would like us to address, any topics, all topics are available for us. So think about
absolutely.
That. We're excited about all the different topics and that we have coming up, but also, and then again, once a month we'll be taking individual your questions. Whether in relationships. Oh, sure, we didn't even get into that. Relationships. Oh, please. We could teach master classes on relationships.
So, absolutely.
Which is really going to be fun to talk about. Why did you pick this one? Again, I also will come from a spiritual standpoint. With the majority of things.
Again, the explanation of on both sides. So how I would answer that question is because the brain feels safer with what's familiar. So if you came from if dad wasn't around, you're going to choose someone that isn't around all the time because that's what's familiar, as an example, right? Even if it's something that we would rather not, and we say, I want someone who's around, who's available.
Exactly. And from a family constellation place, you're just, picking the same thing. down the line here. And from a spiritual standpoint, we're waiting for your consciousness to make a shift, to wake up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different ways to explain this. I will talk about ADHD. I was diagnosed attention deficit disorder without the hyperactivity at 40 years old. I have lots to say about ADHD and ADD, and I think it's a superpower, and we'll talk about all of that. Yeah. I have another class coming up in May with Janelle Campbell, who's a wonderful medium in Australia, and we're going to be talking about star seeds and intergalactic, and we're going to be doing a 2-hour class on that. And I often put right brain people or ADHD, right brain, star seeds. To me, it all is the same. Yeah, I have a lot of ways to explain things.
Yeah,
to explain things.
So a lot of wonderful things coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Join us.
A lot of wonderful things. And before I forget too, I have a couple of sessions available this week, Thursday and Friday. So if you go to my website, you can check that out if you'd like to have a session with me. And Shirley, you're going to be working on your website, right? We've got some changes on your website coming up. And
yeah. Kellee keeps me on that.
I do.
Who cares? It's whatever. It's a website. It's on there. Kelly's like, no.
Come on, Cheryl. Come on. We got to update everything, Cheryl.
Yeah.
And this is the year of the fire horse, so it's going to go fast.
The year
so everybody join me on Thursday. I'll be talking, I forget what my topic is on this Thursday. I think I'm talking about difficult people.
There we go.
I think I am talking about difficult people. Oh my gosh. Oh, and somebody says, Shirley, they were fortunate enough to meet you in person, and you were wonderful in helping her overcome and resolve some emotional issues. That's wonderful. Thank you. Isn't that the best?
Thank you so much.
Shirley's the best. All right, everybody. Shirley, I love you. I'm so glad we're back together.
All right.
I'm so excited.
I love you too.
Oh my God.
Happy Chinese New Year,
everybody.
It's going to be a powerful one.
It's a powerful one. We'll see you next week. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.